They don't stay broke because they are lazy. They don't stay broke because the world is unfair. They stay broke because they were never taught how power actually works. From the outside, it looks like chance, like luck, like destiny handed out unevenly. But beneath the surface, beneath the noise, beneath the excuses, beneath the endless talk about the economy and opportunity, there is a quieter truth most people never face. Most people are not poor in their wallets first. They are poor in their decisions. They are poor in their habits. They are poor in their standards. And poverty of the mind always shows up in the bank account eventually. Look around. You'll see people working endlessly, sweating through years, burning daylight and health, yet remaining stuck in the same financial place decade after decade. And right beside them, someone else, often from no better starting point, moves steadily forward, compounding momentum, building something that grows even when they sleep. Same world, same clock, same economy, different discipline. This is not a story about money. Money is only the scoreboard. This is a story about self-command. History whispers this lesson again and again, but most people never listen. Edison failed thousands of times, not because he lacked intelligence, but because he refused to abandon his vision. Carnegie arrived with nothing but clarity and obsession. Ford was mocked, bankrupted, ridiculed, until the discipline of persistence bent reality in his favor. Lincoln lost elections, businesses, reputation, yet never lost his direction. None of them escaped because of luck. They escaped because they governed themselves when others wouldn't. Most people wake up each morning already defeated, not by circumstances, but by habit. They reach for distraction before direction. They negotiate with their goals instead of commanding their actions. They say tomorrow to the work that builds freedom, and today to the comfort that preserves bondage. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is alignment. It is the ability to make your actions obey your future instead of your impulses. The undisciplined life is reactive. It waits for motivation. It waits for clarity. It waits for permission. And while it waits, time quietly compounds against it. Bills accumulate. Regret deepens. Potential rots. This is why most people stay broke. They don't decide once and for all who they are and what they stand for. They redecide every morning based on how they feel. And feelings are terrible leaders. Feelings change with the weather, with sleep, with opinions, with fear. Wealth, real wealth, demands something colder, firmer, quieter. It demands belief before evidence. Napoleon Hill wrote that whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But belief is not wishful thinking. Belief is a settled decision, a line drawn in the sand, a refusal to entertain alternatives. Most people never cross that line. They want success, but they also want comfort. They want abundance, but they also want approval. They want freedom, but they also want certainty. And you cannot have both. The disciplined escape begins the moment you realize that your current results are not a mystery. They are a mirror. They are the sum of what you tolerate, what you repeat, and what you refuse to confront. Look closely. Your income reflects your self-image. Your habits reflect your standards. Your future reflects your daily obedience or rebellion against your own goals. The undisciplined mind drifts. It consumes without intention. It scrolls endlessly, absorbing other people's opinions, fears, and limitations until it forgets what it even wanted in the first place. And then it wonders why life feels small. Clarity is the first act of rebellion. Carnegie didn't just want money, he wanted dominance in an industry. Edison didn't want experiments, he wanted light in the darkness. Disney didn't want cartoons, he wanted a world people could step into. They didn't dabble, they decided. Decision is the birthplace of discipline. When you decide with finality, excuses lose their oxygen. When you decide with conviction, distractions become irrelevant. When you decide with purpose, discipline stops feeling like sacrifice and starts feeling like loyalty to the person you are becoming. This is where most people turn back. Because discipline demands solitude. It demands saying no when yes would feel easier. It demands structure in a world addicted to chaos. It demands patience in an age of instant gratification. And patience is painful for the undisciplined because patience exposes who you really are when no one is watching. The disciplined escape requires you to master the hours others waste, to invest attention where others spend it, to build skill while others seek entertainment, to grow quietly while others perform loudly. This is not glamorous, it is not Instagram-friendly, it is not applauded, it is powerful. And power always begins invisibly. Gratitude becomes fuel here, not the passive kind, but the sharpened awareness that every day is raw material, that every setback is instruction, that every delay is conditioning your endurance. The undisciplined complain. The disciplined extract lessons. The undisciplined blame systems. The disciplined study systems, and then build their own. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the escape begins. Momentum shifts, confidence hardens, identity upgrades. Because discipline doesn't just change what you do. It changes who you believe yourself to be. And once your self-image evolves, your behavior follows without resistance. This is where the gap widens, where the disciplined stop chasing money and start attracting opportunity, where habits compound like interest, where effort becomes leverage instead of exhaustion. The world has always rewarded those who can delay pleasure for purpose. That law has never changed. Only the distractions have multiplied. And right now, more than ever, discipline is the rarest currency on earth. Those who develop it escape. Those who don't remain busy, tired, and broke, wondering how others seem to move so far ahead with the same 24 hours. The truth is brutal, and it is freeing, because the door out has never been locked. It has only required a level of self-command most people are unwilling to demand of themselves. And once you demand it, once you decide that your future will no longer be negotiated away by comfort, fear, or habit, you don't just escape financially, you escape spiritually, mentally, existentially. And there is no returning to the small life after that. Once you cross that threshold, something irreversible happens inside you. You begin to see the world differently, not as a place that owes you anything, but as a field that responds precisely to how you plant, how you tend, and how patiently you wait. The noise that once hypnotized you loses its grip. Trends fade, opinions blur. What remains is a quiet, relentless focus on cause and effect. The disciplined understand a secret the masses never slow down long enough to grasp. Life is always voting on your behalf, or against you based on what you do daily, not occasionally, not when motivation strikes. Daily. Most people want breakthroughs without rituals. They want results without routines. They want harvest without planting. And when nothing changes, they call it fate. But fate is nothing more than habit repeated long enough to look inevitable. The disciplined escape is built on boring excellence, on showing up when enthusiasm is gone, on keeping promises to yourself even when no one else is watching, especially then, because every time you keep a promise to yourself, your self-trust strengthens, and self-trust is the backbone of confidence. Without it, ambition collapses under pressure. This is why discipline precedes belief. You don't wait to believe before acting. You act until belief has no choice but to follow. Action carves certainty into the nervous system. It trains the mind to expect progress instead of hoping for it. Think of Lincoln studying law by candlelight while others slept. Think of Edison returning to the lab after another failure, not angry, not dramatic, just committed. Think of Ford rebuilding after collapse, refining systems while critics laughed. None of them were intoxicated by emotion. They were anchored by purpose. Purpose is discipline's compass. When you know why you're building, the how becomes tolerable. When you know where you're going, temporary discomfort loses its power to distract you. Purpose turns sacrifice into strategy. Most people never clarify their purpose, so discipline feels like suffering. They grind without direction, hustle without vision, exhaust themselves chasing other people's definitions of success. And eventually, they burn out. Or worse, they settle. The disciplined escape demands clarity so sharp it cuts through doubt, a vision so vivid it pulls you forward on days when willpower feels thin. This vision doesn't shout. It doesn't need validation. It sits quietly in the background, reminding you who you are becoming every time you're tempted to quit. And you will be tempted, constantly. Adaptability becomes essential here. Discipline is not rigidity. It is not stubborn repetition of failing methods. It is commitment to outcome with flexibility in approach. The disciplined adjust without losing direction. They pivot without abandoning purpose. Where the undisciplined panic, the disciplined recalibrate. Resilience is born in this space, not the loud, dramatic kind, but the calm refusal to stay down. The understanding that setbacks are not signals to stop, but instructions to refine. Every obstacle becomes feedback. Every delay becomes training. This mindset alone separates those who escape from those who remain stuck, explaining why they couldn't. Learning becomes a lifelong posture. The disciplined study their craft, their mind, their weaknesses. They read when others scroll. They practice when others procrastinate. They ask better questions instead of repeating old complaints.